have something really exciting. We are launching True Color, which is a book of original poems written by our poet laureate, Michael Dylan Welch. And he's going to tell us not only about his inspiration, but also sort of the background of the type of poetry, which is a new type of poetry that he at least had a hand in developing with his friend. And so we are selling these books for $5 here at the counter. But also what we're doing is we're challenging folks to perhaps be good hosts. And so what that means, and Michael will talk a little bit about that, is you have a choice. You can buy a book for $5, or we can give you one for free. But if you're going to take a book for free, we're going to ask you to pledge to host a Renge party. And Michael's going to tell you all about what that Renge party is, and after you host your party, you take a picture of the poem that you and your guests create, and you send it back to us. So, I'm going to give you some time to think about it, and you can hear what Renge is all about, and what a Renge party is, and some awesome poetry in True Color. So, without further ado, this is Michael Dylan Welch, our Redmond Poet Laureate.
Coming. I know there are lots of distractions outside, so I appreciate that you made the choice to come here. Imagine if you lived in Japan 500, 700, or 1,000 years ago. If you were literate, and not everyone, most people weren't in those days. If you were literate and could read and write, and you were in the imperial court, you would spend your time, instead of surfing the internet, in writing a form of poetry called Renge. And that's the form that has influenced what I've written this book in, called Renge. Renge is also where haiku came from. The starting verse of this linked verse form called Renge is in English, it's 3 lines, and it captures the season and has some other aspects of what it's trying to do. Usually a very common everyday experience that everyone can relate to. And as people wrote these verses, these linked verses, they had 36 verses or 100 verses. I even heard of 1,000 verses and longer. This was their entertainment, and there were specific rules, and there were masters who governed how it was supposed to be done. And it was fairly complicated. And in 1992, a friend of mine, his name is Gary Gay, and yes, that's partly where the name of Renge comes from. He thought, well, these rules are too complex. So he decided to create a new form that combined Renge with the linking of verses, and it's usually with multiple people, so it's collaborative poetry. He combined that with, he limited it to 6 verses instead of the very, very long ones that are traditionally written in Japanese. And he did one other thing that made it very different. In a Renge in Japan, the idea is you present a verse, and then you have to shift away to something that's seemingly unrelated. And you have to keep doing that, and it becomes a chain. And every verse sort of shifts away, and you'll see that in these verses as well. But with a Renge, there's one other key aspect that's different, and that's that each verse connects with a theme, so it links and shifts at the same time. And in this collection, True Color, all of the Renge patterns, there's 6 verses in each one. There are 13 in here. Each one is on a different color. So there's a black one, and a green one, and a blue one, and so on. So I explore different colors, and the idea is to taste all of life with Renge, and in these Renge, to taste the colors of life in their own way. So I'd like to read a few of these, but first I want to read a poem by Ono no Komachi, who wrote, I think, about 800 years ago in Japan. And this is a short poem of hers. How invisibly it changes color in this world, the flower of the human heart. And I think she's talking about how people change and the human heart and emotions change over time. The Renge poems are also about how nature and life around us changes. Usually the Renge form is collaborative, and it's set up to be written by 2 or 3 people usually. These are all solo Renge, and the collaboration aspect, at least in the book, is between the designer, Dan Schaefer, and his photographs and my poems and his design and graphic design work. The combination of the two becomes sort of conversation. And this is the title Renge piece. It's called True Colors. And rather than being about one particular color, it's about all colors and the true colors of different people in the world. True colors. The abstract painting, overpriced. An off-color joke from the psychiatrist. Coloring outside the lines, the kindergarten teacher. The realtor talking too much about local color. Hardly colorblind, the district attorney. Technicolor sunset. The photographer loads another memory card. So I don't know how these poems make you feel or what you think, but each verse, to help unpack it a little bit, each verse has some sort of occupation. The painter, psychiatrist, a kindergarten teacher, a realtor, an attorney, and a photographer. And they all deal with color in a different way. So that's the theme that ties all these pieces together. I'm going to pick on a volunteer. Michael, would you come up here for a second?
Yeah.
And help me read the next one. Why don't you start? This is called Yellow Streak.
Yellow roses on the attorney's desk. Lost case.
A yellow-bellied sapsucker under museum glass.
Small town. A little yellow journalism goes a long way.
Stock market crash. Talk again. The yellow peril.
Errors in the internet article about the yellow kid.
Yellow streak. Again, I failed to introduce myself. Thank you. This next one is Pink Elephant. A lotto ticket taped to the fridge by the pink slip. Tickled Pink, the autistic boy. Complaining of pink eye, the ventriloquist. Framed in the foyer, Pink Floyd tickets from 1969. My ex-accountant in the pink. Asylum visit. Uncle keeps telling me about pink elephant. So I hope you can see that it's deliberately shifting. It's not narrative. It's jumping around, but trying to give you little snapshots of what you can see around you. And I see in those last two pieces that they had an occupation in them too. So maybe that's the theme through some of the other ones. This is called Painting the Town. Red in the face, the 12th juror at the obscenity hearing. Painting the town red. Amish twins. Red skies at night. I still get all the news I need on the weather report. Someone's puppy has left something on the red carpet. Caught red-handed, the cookie thief. Hangover. A red-eye flight to nowhere. There's something a little different here. I wanted to read a Christmas piece for those of you who celebrate. This is in the form of what's called a haibun, which is prose with ending with a haiku at the end, and it has German in the haiku. It's called An Austrian Christmas. During my college years, I once spent a few weeks skiing in the French, Swiss, and Austrian Alps. For the Christmas week, a group of college friends and I rented a mountain chalet a little south of Innsbruck. We anticipated Christmas to be a quiet, melancholy time as we had no Christmas tree, hadn't planned on exchanging presents, and were all away from our families. However, on Christmas Eve, the chalet owners who lived upstairs in the same building came down with their 12-year-old daughter and knocked on our door. The mother carried a large black metal skillet filled with popping and sizzling pine boughs. In halting English, the daughter translated her mother's explanation that it was their custom to fry a few boughs and to walk around the house, letting the tart pine-scented steam fill each room. So we let them in and followed them around as the mother waved the skillet into each corner of the chalet. We enjoyed the wonderful pine scent for the rest of our stay. It was a wonderful gesture to homesick foreigners, topped only by their inviting us to join them at the small, white-steepled village church to listen to German carols and the ringing of bells at a midnight service. Later that evening, singing echoed through the valley as we first approached the village church in the wintry alpine darkness. Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht, the squeak of snow in front of the creche. In working on the book True Colors, which was mostly written last year and this year, mostly this year, I looked on my computer and discovered that I had written a renge with the name True Colors back in 2008, and I'd like another volunteer to help me read this one. Come and help me read? This was written with a writer friend in Boston. His name is Paul David Mena. So I'll let you read Paul. Yeah, just read that.
Autumn. Autumn, the bright red ink in my portfolio.
Just as I arrive, the light turns green.
The pink ribbon in my granddaughter's hair, stained with mustard.
Deepening the blue around Half Dome, my polarizing filter.
A gold necklace clings to the barbed wire fence.
Family reunion. A buttercup held to my daughter's chin. Thank you. Now we're going black. Here's a black ring. Blackout. A winter night by the gas fireplace. Found at last the black box. For those of you who just come in, a renge consists of haiku or haiku-like verses, and each verse is meant to be a short little snapshot, just a picture, and it doesn't necessarily connect with the verse next to it, except in the book I'm reading from, each set of poems focuses on a particular color. So we have blackout, and then a black box, and now the black sheep of the family, late for the reunion. The Black Diamond Run, roped off for avalanche blasting. The Black-Eyed Susans, half price. At the party, just the vampire in the black. So the idea with the verses is to give you these pictures and deliberately jump around in a sort of disjunctive fashion. So if you try writing these yourself, you can just present an image objectively in 3 lines, and then a partner or several partners, and we have instructions, can respond to that with something else. And you don't have to write about color as a theme or anything like that, but pick your own theme of any kind, and then you can write verses that fit that theme. Give it a try. From black to white, this is carte blanche. White elephant sale. That Christmas sweater unsold again. Telling the telemarketer a little white lie. With bored kids at the county museum, a white flag under glass. Sweet 16, carte blanche at the department store. That would be fun. Whiteout, the crow's eye. Ashes scattered, no white in the sunset. One more here. Well, actually, I'll read another Christmas renge that isn't in the book. This was written in San Francisco with 2 friends. This is written by 3 people, and I'll be 3 voices. The other writers are named Jim Force and Vincent Trippi. Christmas in San Francisco. One person in shorts, another in a parka. If you've lived there, that happens. A crack in the pavement stops a strand of tinsel. Street corner Santa drops a coin into the beggar's cup. The fog lifts. St. Dominic's bell. Slowing for the traffic light. A Christmas wreath on the fire truck's grill. Crowded cable car. The evening star. Blue, unless anybody has a favorite color they'd like me to try and find. Silent gallery guard. His suit matches the Picasso. Where the oak branches used to be, clear sky. A shared taxi. Now I see the color of your eyes. Flowing from your fingers, drops of ocean no longer blue. After the breakup, I sing along with the blues. Still in my vase,